Movies like Psycho, The Silence of the Lambs, and The Texas Chainsaw Massacre are must-see classics in the horror genre. Perhaps you would be surprised to know that some of the most horrific characters in these movies that made your skin crawl were actually inspired off of a real person named Edward Gein. For a decade, Gein terrorized his neighbors and turned the inside of his house into a real horror exhibit. Gein spent his childhood with his strict mother and brother Henry in a farmhouse outside of Plainfield, Wisconsin. He rarely left the house except for attending school, and didn't show any interest in befriending or dating others, mainly because his mother discouraged him from doing so. Despite his strict upbringing, Gein grew up with nothing but respect to his mother, and almost regarded her as the Holy Mary. When Gein was 38 years old, he and his brother were burning away marsh vegetation on their farm, but the fire grew out of control and killed Henry by the time the firefighters arrived. The conditions of Henry's death were rather suspicious, as it was determined that he'd already been dead before the fire got out of hand, and he had bruises on his head. However, there was not enough evidence to link his death to Gein at the time, and the case was quickly closed. A few years after this incident, Gein's mother passed away as well, and he suddenly decided to bring his mother back from the death by sewing a woman's suit so that he could wear it and become his mother. He meant it in a quite literal sense, as he went on a killing rampage for the next decade, murdering women and cutting off their skin to create his ultimate fantasy. Quite a few of Gein's neighbors went missing around this time, but there were never any clues to indicate that Gein had anything to do with their disappearances. In November of 1957, a local hardware store owner named Bernice Worden suddenly went missing from her shop. The cash register had been smashed open and a trail of blood was leading out the back. Worden's son happened to be the deputy sheriff, and he realized that his mother's last customer was none other than Ed Gein, the reclusive neighbor who never really spoke much. Investigators acquired a search warrant for Gein's house and headed there. They expected to find Worden's body somewhere in the house, but they never expected to see some of the most disgusting things they would ever see in their lives. Gein's house was a mess, except for his mother's room, which was kept in a pristine condition. Several body parts, bones, skulls, and household items made from human skin were found in his house. Worden's body was also found hanging from the ceiling, headless and gutted. Gein immediately confessed to everything. He admitted that he'd decided to kill Worden because she closely resembled his mother, and he wanted to make a suit out of her skin. He also admitted to exhuming bodies from graveyards to use as decorations in his house, allegedly in a dazed-like state. Although several body parts had been found inside his house, he was only convicted of murdering Bernice Worden, and a trial was held. However, Gein was determined to appear insane and therefore unfit to stand trial. He was institutionalized in a mental hospital where he spent the rest of his life. He attempted to petition for release in 1974, but his petition was rejected, and he died 10 years later due to cancer and respiratory illnesses. To this day, Gein remains one of the most baffling murderers of all time.